I know it would be wrong, and I'm not going to actually do this, but part of me has thought that my official position for the next 4 years should be that actually Kamala Harris won. Kamala won. My official position is actually she won. Just to drive them crazy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I'm JVL, here with my best friends, Sarah Longwell and Tim Miller of the Bulwark. We are on day 3 of the new era in American politics. It's the first time the three of us have been together since Donald Trump was inaugurated and took an oath that he takes very seriously to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. And I would just like to know how everybody's doing. How are you feeling? Sarah, you and I literally haven't spoken. What's going on? Where are you now?
We've spoken over like text and Slack.
Not one-on-one.
Yeah.
Not one-on-one. We haven't done real check-ins. What's wrong with us? Best friends not checking in on each other?
I don't know. I mean, I think both of us have the same. We're like physically ill as a result of this.
Actually
both of us are sick.
Yes.
It's on one hand, there's like a weird deja vu to it, right? But like knowing so much more. But like I'm going through these weird processes of watching the way other people process the new world and trying to like figure out. I got to tell you, I did a focus group. My team's gonna be mad at me for bringing up the focus group stuff because we got a
this was your
an episode.
I know. Things where you got real low and you're like, I gotta have a focus group, man.
I didn't. So you know what I did?
Does anybody have a focus group?
This is exactly right.
Does anybody have a focus?
Yeah. You know who I talked to? It is such a cope. I literally was like, I need some Trump to Harris voters. Like, I just want the people who switched from Trump to Harris, and I want to hear what they think about the inauguration.
You're not a junkie. Look, you could stop anytime you wanted.
I know.
You could stop talking to regular voters anytime you wanted to. You just don't want to do that today.
Give me the good stuff. I need the good stuff right now. And we made them watch the inauguration. It's a good episode. I do it with Amanda. We talk about what it means for democracy. We taped yesterday, and so like we were just in the throes of him pardoning all the J6ers and everything else. But what strikes me is how apathetic people are. Like, you should hear the way voters talk in this group. It's all like, well, I guess I'm just going to hold my breath for 4 years. Or, well, I guess I just need to, like, knuckle through it. Like, it's a lot of, I'm just going to do this for 4 years. And
same.
You know what? Yeah, right. I mean, and there's this feeling of, both because he's a lame duck and because he has the imprimatur this time of legitimacy from the popular vote, even though, like, yeah, not a mass sweeping mandate, not the way he's talking about it, but like it's enough. And I'll say, in a perverse way, there's something, you talk about democracy, like there's a way in which as a country we sort of accept, or at least I think Democrats do, that Trump won. And so people wanted this. He didn't lie. Like, this is the thing, right? He releases the January 6 folks, and it wasn't like that came out of nowhere. Now, it is true that people like J.D. Vance and other defenders of his, the people who are begging Trump to just stay on the right side of normal for them and not make them look like fools, are like, well, he's not going to pardon the really violent people, And then Trump humiliates them by, of course, doing that. But it's weird how people are kind of like, I guess this is it. And so I think when you say, like, how am I feeling? I guess I'm a little perturbed by the void that of both voters not feeling like they want to do anything about it, and then also Democrats. Like, normally at a time like this, you would see ambitious Democrats be like, this is my time to jump in, show leadership, create contrast. Like, you're not really seeing any of that. Like, I saw my boy from Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, say something today. But like, I don't know. Yesterday seemed like a good day to be really outraged about pardoning people who beat up cops, to draw the contrast, to point out the hypocrisy. And I'm sure like some people went on MSNBC and did. I went on MSNBC and did. I was on a call talking about it. But like, I was also watching Mike Fanone and Harry Dunn, who were on before me, and they're like, yeah, the rank and file cops from DC like don't really care. And I don't know what to do about that. Like, that's the part that I guess is crushing me right now it's a distressing level of apathy.
Question before we get to you, Tim. Sarah, does this move you in any direction on the idea that law and order is never really about law and order for the people who talk about it? Like that the Back the Blue stuff isn't really about Back the Blue, it's about something else? Can I get you to come over to the dark side with me on this?
I don't know that I have I don't know that I've ever defended, especially for like Republicans who, I mean, one of the things that I think is
he's asking if you're going to take down your thin blue line flag that you have in your office.
I don't have a thin blue line flag.
I know.
I'm not a police officer.
But really, this is a mask off moment for the Law and Order crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've always seen that. I've always viewed a lot of that as cynical, especially since January 6th. Like, and if you go back and look at what Republicans said the days after, or even like the year after, like Ted Cruz called it a domestic terrorist attack, but they got shouted down by Trump voters. But there's a lot of taking sacred things in vain right now, which is, I think, one of the things that really churns your stomach is watching Trump invoke God as wanting him to be here. God saved him so that Trump could save America.
No weapon formed against us.
Police, using police. Like, there's a lot of things that the Americans hold as values that Trump is using as a shield against his wrongdoing, and perverting that, creating that upside down, I think is part of what disorients people right now.
Timmy, what you got, buddy?
Yes, Sarah's a lot further down the path towards acceptance than I am.
I'm not. I'm just telling you.
No, I know. I'm not saying you're close to acceptance. I'm saying you're further down the path than me.
Okay, well, let's keep that relative.
Yeah, exactly. Because you were coping with a focus group, and I've been drinking heavily every night this week, which is not something I do. Weeknight drinking, really. I don't. On the police thing, I was trying to get Tom Nichols to come to the dark side with me on the same point yesterday. I was like, the cops we're painting with a broad brush, and they're individual good people in every group, but like the cops kind of ended up being on the side of the people that attacked the Capitol Police.
Not kind of.
Just the crushing.
Not kind of.
Yeah.
Absolutely on the side.
That's the crushing thing about the Finone and Dunn.
Did you see this? I think it was the PBA was asked to, I forget, one of the police unions who endorsed Trump was then asked about this, the pardon, and the response was...
It was the Fraternal Order of Police.
Yeah, the response was, we don't have any comment on that.
Yeah. So that's pretty devastating. I guess I would say I think that Monday was like probably one of the worst days of my life, I think, which is kind of a good life, which is what I kept telling myself.
Yeah,
I think
that's the nice way of looking at it.
If this is one of the worst days. And I didn't have deja vu because unlike the sickos listening to this podcast, in 2016, I went dark. I actually went to New Orleans and I remember I was trying to remember what did I do, and I was like, I posted an Instagram photo and that reminded me. I was like, went and hung out with my godson, took him to the museums all day on inauguration day, and then went out and got drunk, and I just didn't engage. I still don't know that I've ever actually watched the American Carnage speech. Like, I've seen clips that people play, but I don't think I've ever watched it. And so I didn't have deja vu. I was forced to sit and watch it on Monday, for my life now. And I was just filled with rage the full day. And this is where we are totally aligned, Sarah. I don't like the mass acceptance. I cannot really relate to. I do not understand it. And at the very end of the pod with Nichols yesterday, I went off for 8 minutes on Amy Klobuchar, and I could have done the whole hour on it. Just how I just don't get it. It's almost I don't get it. It's, doing the, oh yeah, me and Trump had a nice chat about the fires and about NFL, and I bet you wish you could have been there, she said. I was like, no, actually, and all and even Hakeem Jeffrey, I get it. I get, and this is why Nichols and probably Sarah, maybe Sarah, we'll see, and Bill. And it's nice to have people that are like, you know, you have to do the jobs, and this isn't the last election, and we still have to do the traditions. And I'm like, I get all that, but that there was no, there was no protest outside. Like there was no humans protesting, really, and there were a handful of protesters, no meaningful one. And the participants in the farce, like, just kind of went along with everything as normal, with the exception of our girl Karen Pence and Michelle Obama. And I guess the priest,
Respect.
the woke priest, and so shout out to you three ladies. But besides that, I do feel just like there was nothing. And the Democratic talking points in a lot of places, there were some good. I saw a good Mark Kelly outraged video about the pardons, but there's a lot of, well, we're not talking about the price of eggs now, are we? Like, that's kind of the response to Trump. And I like, that doesn't do it for me on a visceral level. And I also just think that there's a lot of, this relates to one more thing I want to talk about, which is there's a lot of like, the Democrats are all the valedictorians, And so there's a lot of like, we need to follow what the data says and be smart now. Like we did the Donald Trump dildo paper mache protest, and that didn't work, And like now what we need to really do is focus on kitchen table issues. And I'm like, the elections are 2 years away, and maybe just tell us what you really think, actually, and be a real person that has feelings and that is mad and that is outraged, and like kind of let the chips fall, and you can let your ad wizards in September of 2026 decide what the data says. I want a little more human feeling from the world, and everybody feels very just like beaten down and accommodating, and that is driving me insane.
Can I just say that one of the things that's interesting to me about when you talk about who you were in 2016 and now, how much I'm the inverse of how I felt then. Like I was in, I was even for a long time, I think I've really pushed, and I still think, like, I think Biden had to go to the inauguration. But, like, I am and because I never liked the paper mache dildos, right? I never liked the blow up Donald Trumps in diapers because that's not, to me, it created people. I don't know. Look, there's going to be a forever debate about whether mocking him or extolling the dangers that he poses is the right way. And like, you can do both, but like some of it's just so juvenile, and I think it turns people off. Like, I think there's been a lot of driving people away. But what's funny is that this time, while I believe that Biden should have gone, like he needs to be there, they need to demonstrate a peaceful transfer of power, they don't have to be happy about it. And I guess I am perplexed. And I think that one of the reasons that voters get the idea of like, what am I supposed to do, is that they see Joe Biden. Tim, I watched your video, your Tim take, and this is as close to you and I like were in having the precise feeling of you cannot do both, Joe Biden. You cannot pardon your family and other people because he's such a threat and then smile at him when he shows up and like be fist bumping and like inviting them to sit down for tea. Like, you should show up and you should show people that it is distressing to you what is happening. And I just think that like Democrats, again, I think that they're overreading. They're like, well, he did win the popular vote, and so voters want us to like, but you know what? Do that through policy. Like, yes, he does. He's got a bit of a mandate on immigration. Democrats are going to have to learn some lessons about immigration. But you don't have to learn. It is worse now. Okay, he had not tried to overturn an election in 2016.
Right.
He just hadn't. And now he has. And you're all signaling that that we should just let that happen. And you shouldn't. Now is the time for outrage.
Yeah, and one more thing on this point. Again, JVL loves the asymmetry talk. I mentioned this on Chris Hayes last night. I was a little hot. It was only a 2-minute segment, but I was a little lubed up, and I was like, In 2021 January, that's how Steve Bannon talks. 2021 January.
Data log.
Yeah, the Republicans weren't being like, Joe Biden got the most votes in American history of any president. Maybe we need to learn some lessons, about comity. Maybe we need to learn. Maybe we need to reflect on the way that some of our policies were a little bit extreme and rejected by the American people. Maybe we need to, welcome him into the fold and try to figure out ways we can work together. No, it was like, they're like, illegitimate president, Dementia Joe. Did he fall asleep at his own inauguration? Is he peeing in his baby diaper? Like that is
Trump and Melania didn't even come.
Yes.
Right. Trump and Melania didn't even go. So like this notion that like, oh, you've got to learn the lesson. And the lesson is that you need to be more responsive to the American people by going along with the hooey-fooey that Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about is like insane to me. It is insane. I don't understand. I can't even understand how it has taken hold completely among the media class, the corporate class, the Democratic politicians. Like it's across the board. It's like really, and again, I just want to be clear. I'm with Sarah. The Democrats absolutely should. There are certain things they need to reflect on how they got beaten by this guy and how to act differently. But it's not like be nicer to him, or do apologia for him, or whitewash him, or spin that's not it. So anyway,
I mean, it's not just 2021 January. How about 2017 January? Did Republicans go around saying, geez, Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes than he did. We ought to really learn some lessons here. I mean, I know we squeaked this one out, right? It always runs the other way. It always runs the other way. And in fact, there was a lot of in 2021, I don't know if you remember this, like, yeah, Biden won, but it was so much closer than we thought it would be. Democrats really have to learn some lessons. It was the opposite. That was literally a conversation that everybody was having. And
how was it so close? This is I'm glad me and Sarah are so aligned on this outrage, because I think that maybe my next thing is something where we might find a little disagreement.
Can I ask you a question first?
Other thing, yeah,
Can I ask you a question first?
Yeah, please.
I know it would be wrong, and I'm not going to actually do this, but part of me has thought that my official position for the next 4 years should be that actually Kamala Harris won. Kamala won. It was terrible.
Dude, there's a real audience for that, as best I can tell. Because over on Blue Sky, there's a fair amount of like, math ain't mathin', guys. Let's.
The election was stolen. She won.
I don't even want to know what's happening on Blue Sky. But that's close to my thought, because
I'd just like to say, that's my official position is actually she won. Just to drive them crazy.
Steve Bannon would smirk at me in every interview I did with him for 4 years, and he'd be like, Joe Biden, the illegitimate Biden regime.
Donald Trump, illegitimate president.
Why can't we do that? The illegitimate Trump regime. It's an illegitimate regime. It was right there in the Constitution. He wasn't allowed to run again. It was like not our fault that the illegitimate Supreme Court let the illegitimate Trump regime back into the White House. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, here's the only other thing I was going to say, just about my attitude towards all this that has really congealed over the last 3 days. I gave a New Year's resolution in December that was like, on our last before the holiday podcast, it was like, I'm going to not care about the things I don't care about. And I'm sticking with that. But I want to add a positive affirmation to it, which is I am going to care about the things that piss me off and talk about it and yell about it, no matter what, whether or not I think that the American people, the good and great American people, are going to care about this thing. And I actually think that is good advice for the Democrats, at least in 2025. Because we are all I know that you're listening to a political experts podcast to hear our takes and our prognostications, but everybody is so fucking bad at predicting things and like what's going to work and what's not going to work. At least on consistency wise, everybody's record is pretty spotty. Okay, even yours, JVL. You've got a good record, but everybody's record's a little bit spotty. And I just if I'm mad about the the lady from Central America crying on the border because she was not able to get her appointment that was set for 3 hours after Donald Trump's inauguration. I don't want my next thought to be, or the next question that I get from a anchor to be, well, but do you think the American people care about this? I don't give a fuck. I care about it. It's bad. Donald Trump's going to do a lot of bad shit. We don't really know what bad thing Donald Trump does might resonate. We have some guesses. We could do some educated guesses. But I think that probably to our, like, a more is more, like, we are mad, this is bad, throwing shit against the wall, like speaking, passionately with outrage, with authenticity about what people, about people's anger, I think is as good of a bet as pivoting to fucking egg prices every time people ask you about something. Like,
egg prices
that's
are
just
high.
my opinion. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe the right thing to do is pivot to egg prices, and the Democrats would be well suited to just focus on kitchen table issues and not get outraged. But I kind of don't think so.
So I want to try a theory for you guys on the question of why the Democrats are all just like kind of fine. Why the Amy Klobuchars of the world are fine. Here's my theory. Donald Trump is very conspicuously not at war with the Democratic Party. It's the Democratic voters he hates. And so, like, he hardly ever says anything aggressive or has any things that he wants to do to Amy Klobuchar, right? He just wants to shut down the DEI offices and make sure that no Afghan refugees get over here and make sure that the trans people get, thrown out of the military and discharged. He's conducting warfare against like half of America, but that half does not include actual elected Democrats.
Except Gavin Newsom.
Except for Gavin Newsom. And so that's why it's a little easy for them to be like, yeah, I'm just like, John Fetterman isn't, he can go have lunch down in Mar-a-Lago because Trump isn't taking aim at John Fetterman. Does this feel right to you guys or no? No?
No, I don't think so. Wait, just a side note on Gavin Newsom. Is his political career over? Like, this void feels like he would be somebody who would normally be filling it, but he can't because I think he's taking a lot of blame at the state level for the mismanagement of the fires. And I don't see him. I'm not sure. Do you think he recovers from this? Just anybody got a quick?
No idea. No idea because I don't know anything about whether or not he has any blame or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the level of detail.
People from California are furious at him.
Yeah. Sure. The only thing I know about this is what Katie has told me. So
I don't know that I want to go too deep on 2028 hot stove, but I guess I will say that I wouldn't say that his career is over because I don't look out at the battle space and see anybody out there that's like, man, they're really taking up the mantle. Oh yeah, sure, but I mean, he's like, oh, I don't see an obvious choice that would defeat him. I guess what I would say. So who knows? I don't know. I think he's on. I think that he's certainly not at his peak political powers.
So on Fetterman and some of these other stuff, one of the things I was talking about on Nicole yesterday, and this has always been, I think, an undercurrent in how Trump does stuff. He operates with menace and the menace of his supporters. The fervent way in which they go after people who oppose him has served to oust any Republican who's vocal against him and brush back any Republican who would defy him. Joni Ernst, when Lindsey Graham said, "I'm done," after January 6th, the voters showed up at the airport to scream at him and at Mitt Romney. And I'm sure they get a lot of calls to their offices with death threats and anger. And they've all decided to fall in line. And I think to Tim's point, or maybe it was JV, whoever said these Democrats were all the valedictorians, I worry that there's just some very basic human instinct stuff going on here where, like, I don't know if these people were stuffed in a lot of lockers, but, like, they seem to – everyone's decided that because Trump is transactional and because he's scary, if you are nice to him, he will be nice in return. And I think he has successfully menaced and intimidated people using the cult-like following into submission. And people are afraid to put their head up right now. I just think I think you see it. I think, I think reporters will tell you and others that just like people who used to go on the record and go hard, everybody's like laying low, hoping he doesn't notice them, trying not to draw his ire. You see people who were very upset about Joe Biden's pardons because he pardoned some of the highest profile people. And those guys were going to be like heat shields for other people. And so now like people who kind of are the next rung down think, well, now I'm exposed. I didn't get one. And so I just, I think, I don't think that's what's operating with like the Democrats that I was talking to or the Trump to Harris voters, but they were scared for the country. And I think people do feel sort of like, I don't know what to do and nobody else is doing anything. And like, there's no leadership, right? Like there's nobody standing up to him that gives other people a sense of permission to be like, yeah, this is screwed. This is fucked. Why aren't we doing something? You just don't have that.
I agree with that. You see it just in the most casual way, just on X, like the types of people who are in the mushy, like not really partisan Democrats, in the mushy bit, like would critique Trump from time to time, critique Biden. Like you can just think about anybody that fits that bill for you and go to their feed, and it's like, oh, the James Biden pardon, horrific. By the way, concur. But then, like, you scroll down to 12 hours later.
Ross Ulbricht, nothing.
Yeah, must have been watching the football game during the Trump pardons. You know what I mean? Just because people are like, it's free pass. You get a free shot at Joe Biden and Kamala right now. No risk, no harm, and it's kind of like, why go after Trump free shots, and get his ire?
It was always free shots, even when Biden was president. Yeah. Because again, the Democratic Party doesn't practice retribution politics. And so it creates asymmetry.
Let's not go. I mean, you're right. They don't do what Trump does at all. But like, if you think that it was easy to say Joe Biden should step down and you didn't get, even today, I mean, I'm sort of been on this, like, guys, don't get distracted by this Elon
We said
thing.
this all the time. Like, we all did it. We didn't die.
And everybody's like, but he's a Nazi. And how, Sarah, you can't see that he's a Nazi. And I'm like, I don't, it's like, I wouldn't say that there's like, not that people don't yell at you on social media for stepping out of line about Biden or things.
This show is sponsored by Quince. With the new year comes a chance to reimagine ourselves for the better. And more importantly, reimagine our closets too. This year, I am resolving to refresh my look with quality pieces, and I want to stay on budget, and I can thanks to Quince. I think everyone needs Quince's Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at $60, and there's no better workout motivation than new activewear. They have performance tees and tech shorts that are perfect for anything you want to do out in the actual world of physical movement and not sitting in front of a podcast mic. However you choose to refresh yourself this year, all Quince pieces are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They're able to do that by partnering directly with top factories, cutting out the cost of middlemen and passing the savings on to you. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes that feel luxurious in every piece. I gotta say, I was shocked by how great the Quince stuff is. The prices are so good that you look at them and think, this can't be, but then you get the stuff and it's great. I really love the merino wool t-shirts they have. Even their 4-way stretch jeans are outstanding. I sound sort of speechless because it's crazy how good Quince is. This is how everybody is going to be shopping soon. Upgrade your closet this year without the upgraded price tag. Go to quince.com/thenextlevel for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/thenextlevel to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/thenextlevel. the next level.
It is crystal knocked. Okay. The hand gesture was crystal knocked. All right. There's no middle ground. There's no other potential.
Can we do 30 seconds on the Elon thing? Because I actually haven't discussed this with anybody. I don't even think I've talked
No, but
about
I
this
read your
on
triad.
Slack.
You seem to be taking it face value. Nazi salute.
Yeah. I did take it at face value. Is that wrong?
I mean, I don't know. I think that it's possibly a troll, possibly at face value, possibly he's autistic and was trying to do "My heart goes out to you" in the weirdest way possible, just like
In a way
when he
that no
jumps
human
out.
has ever done.
Well, I mean, there are so many body motions that he does that no other human has ever done. I mean, have you seen the picture of him when he goes out on the stage with Trump and Butler, where he like jumps? And he like looks like a full-size baby, and his shirt is like coming up, and it's like you can see his like love handles, and like I don't know, he does weird fucking faces. Did you see the video of him where people was going around? That's like I think Elon's on ketamine at the inauguration because he like just starts staring up in the air and then doing like a weird smile. I don't know. He does weird body motions all the time. I'm not saying it
At
wasn't.
least he
a
wasn't
Nazi
staring
salute.
at Lauren Sanchez's
I'm just saying, I
tits.
think we could have. I just think, if that's the hill you're going to die on, that it was 100% a Nazi salute and he's planning the camps, I'd leave some optionality there, that there's something else. There's a lot of bad things Elon's doing, by the way.
Can I make a different point?
Sure.
Can I make a different point on this? Okay. So first of all, here's the thing. Points in favor of Nazi salute is big far right AFD or ADF. AFD.
Again, I mean, clearly this has been on his mind. That's the other thing. Like, minus the AFD thing, I might be like, yeah, maybe he's just trolling. But the guy has spent the last 2 weeks, like, really knee deep in actual Nazi adjacent politics in Germany.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that, and that's where I give people like, I don't know. Here's my main thing. This is where you have to decide what terrain are you going to fight on. So right now, Scott Jennings and every MAGA person who like doesn't want to defend letting the violent insurrectionists free on January 6th, they desperately want to debate whether or not Elon did a Nazi salute. They desperately want to do that because they can call you an idiot. And they are. Right? They are jumping on everyone who did it. They're on offense there. And you know why it's a good issue for them is because there's no outcome of it. There's no do you see the gold dress or do you see the black dress? Like, it's a Rorschach test for partisanship. Because if you hate Elon, you're like, that was a Nazi salute. And if you like Elon, you're like, don't be a crazy person. It's not a Nazi salute. And you throw it on the pile of, you said Trump was a Nazi, and then Mika and Joe went to Mar-a-Lago. Like, you said Trump was a Nazi, and then Obama hung out with him at
Sarah,
Carter's funeral.
You're reverse polarizing me into being for this being a Nazi salute right now. If it makes Scott Jennings this mad, then I know that that's not what you're trying to do, but I'm just letting you know what's happening.
It doesn't make him mad. It makes him feel like he wants to get in that fight.
Okay.
I'm saying he wants to get in that fight because that's a better fight for him than the objective, absolute reality. Totally provable and something that they in their stomachs know is awful and wrong. That Donald Trump just pardoned people who bear sprayed cops, who hit them with flagpoles, who threw fire extinguishers at their heads, who forced their way into the Capitol and defaced it and menaced our elected officials and tried to stop an election. Okay.
Also menaced black churches and did some arsons. That never gets mentioned, so I like to throw that in there.
Please.
So the Christians.
I'm saying, I think this is my broader point is I think that there is always this over here that is like Gulf of America, gonna invade Canada, like whatever. And like, I think it's good to point those out as this person is an asinine idiot. But when I was listening to the focus group, it was surprising to me how many people were thinking like, oh yeah, stupid, we're going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. If you fixate on that stuff, you're missing the real stuff. You're just missing the real pernicious stuff that makes it difficult to have the rule of law in this country. And a lot of people are like, Sarah, I can do both. I can focus on both. Actually, you sort of can't. And even if you can, the American public can't. And maybe this is Tim's issue, like where Tim's like, I don't care what the American people are going to think about it. I still do. I sort of care that we're able to make sure. Because I think one of the lessons I'm trying to learn, or that I think people need to learn, is that, like, the stuff that you think is breaking through isn't breaking through. And like the Nazi stuff with just totally dismissed by any casual listener. But like, oh, he pardoned those people who went into the Capitol? Like, ew. Like, that was a deeply unpopular thing. It's been polled on.
So I think
obviously Nazis are also unpopular.
I think I disagree. I think the Nazi, first of all, I think in general, your point is correct. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that you just can't like get wrapped around the axle about, or you could if you care, but like it isn't going to move. Something like Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, who is also incredibly famous, doing a thing that anybody can see with their own eyes over a second and a half, is the type of thing that can absolutely break through. And that anytime you are arguing that doing a Sieg Heil a couple weeks after talking about how great the neo-Nazi party in Germany is, anytime you're trying to defend that, you're losing.
Disagree.
And if that can be used to break through with low information people to convince them that Elon Musk is a bad person, there are a lot of downstream positives in that. For instance, I think it is possible that you could see a brain drain at SpaceX as people who work there are made to realize, like, shit, I work for this guy who might be a Nazi. That would be good, right? It'd be good if those people left and went to Blue Origin. It would be good if people decided, like, shit, I can't buy a Tesla. I'm going to have to go buy the Hyundai Ioniq because I don't want to have a Nazi car. Anything that does that hurts Elon is good. Anything that hurts Elon at this point hurts Trump, right? Trump has his 49.7% of the popular vote. Elon doesn't have any of that. Elon is just a guy. And he is, bound at the hip to Trump, and anything that damages him. And again, this is a very easy, simple, you just sure looks like the guy hasn't said he didn't mean to do Sieg Heil,
yes,
right?
He did. Yes, he has. He's been fighting with people on his own platform,
Let him make that argument.
Okay, fine.
I just think it's fine to, I'm not saying this should be the most important issue in the world, but it seems to me like this is a good thing to talk about.
No, I promise you
in terms
this will
of
not
hurting.
break through, and I'll tell you why. So one of the things that is in every response of somebody who says that it was a Nazi salute is a picture of various Democrats making the same hand motion. Now, it's static, but because people do a lot of waving to crowds as politicians, there are a lot of people with their hands straight up in the air waving.
Just like Sarah right now.
Yeah, if you took a still of me, and tried to say, Sarah was... Now, I agree, though, people would be like, I don't know, I've listened to Sarah, and she seems to really hate Nazis, so I don't think she is. Whereas you listen to Elon, and he seems to be supporting a lot of far-right white nationalists in Germany because they're anti-immigration in the same way that he is.
He really liked the Nazi historian that was on Tucker's show. Remember?
Listen, I get it. I'll just say, because it didn't hurt Trump. It didn't hurt Trump that he praised the Nazis. Like, I'm telling you, people, it's too far out there. For the low information voters don't know his far right stuff with Germany. Like, this is never going to touch low information voters. It's the kind of thing that lives in left-wing echo chambers that everybody else dismisses. I promise you.
Here's what I have to side with Sarah. Tom Friedman Miller's coming into report right now. I am stuck in New York. Don't know if you know this, because
right down the street from me.
There's a 60-year snow in New Orleans, so I cannot get home. So I've been in this same hotel room.
Did you get like a quarter of an inch?
Yeah, the Hotel California. You got like 10 inches.
No way.
It's insane. Look at the
Does New Orleans have 2 plows or just 1?
0. They had to borrow. They were borrowing plows from Indiana.
Oh my god.
So I don't know. I'm supposed to go home later today. I'm kind of skeptical that they're going to be able to plow the runway, but we'll see. Because I'm stuck here, I've been getting to hang out in the lobby of this very fine Hotel California quite a bit, and I've buddied up with the security man and the barista. And I didn't quiz them about politics. I don't want to talk about politics. I kind of want to put my head in the oven. But they started to talk about it. And what did they both bring up? The TikTok thing? Man, isn't that weird? TikTok was banned for 12 hours and then Trump brought it back. The $9 congestion fee, which is maybe good policy. Don't fight with me in the comments. I don't actually care. $9 congestion fee for people coming into the city. They both commute from outside of the city, and they're both hourly wage workers, and that's pretty meaningful. $9 to them, and both of them were like, maybe Trump will fix that. Trump's been saying some stuff about that, and then I made a casual joke that's like, well, Trump's kind of a disaster. I don't know that he's actually that good at fixing anything, and they both laughed, and they're like, yeah, probably not, but who knows? He got the TikTok thing done. And I only say this all to say that I do think that sometimes Democrats get into a place where they're like, what is going to break through is the thing that goes viral on their Instagram feed. And yes. I think that trying to think more about gimmick politics that has a actual impact on the lives of somebody that is an hourly wage worker that only follows the news a little bit. Or maybe they follow the news more. I guess I don't want to be pejorative. We didn't talk deep enough for me to know. But that's, those two things, like the TikTok thing and the $9 congestion fee, regardless of what you think about the policy, materially impacted the lives. So my TikTok feed is shut down now. I pay $9. I didn't before. So maybe those are both good policies. But then while you're doing good policies that negatively impact people's lives, you should probably also think about some gimmicky things that you can do that people would be like, oh, that's great. Kathy Hochul did that for me. Gavin Newsom did that for me. And they're just like that. You know what I mean? And this is an advantage that Trump has.
It's the transactionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think that if we're doing lessons to be learned, I think this might be a useful lesson rather than saying, oh man, we have to respect the traditions, do the battle hymn of the Republic, stand, thank Mr. Trump and to work with him. Actually strategic efforts to undermine him is probably a better.
And let me tell you this. In a week, no one will be talking about Elon and the Nazi salute. That is a story that you wrap fishes in the next day.
Unless Jews start going on trains. Unless Jews start getting put on trains, then people will be talking about the salute. They'll be like, you know what? That was a miss by Sarah. Turns out
that's true. That's true. Probably. And you know what? At that point, I will definitely recant this position. But I do think what people are going to be talking about, and this is where people that Trump pardoned, many of them, the guy with the horns and the Q shaman or whatever.
It's going to get guns.
Yeah, his response was like, "I love this country. I'm going to go buy a bunch of guns." And those guys are going to I don't know what they're going to do next, but I bet some not good things.
Possibly
the
crimes.
The Pizzagate guy just got killed, right? Do you guys remember this?
That dude, the Pizzagate guy.
Yeah, the Pizzagate guy just got killed in a shootout with cops. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, these are. I think that this is a story. And it's a reality that you can do something with because it is deeply unpopular and it's 100% provable and real, and it will keep rearing its head. And I think that the ephemeral stuff, which is the outrage, is I remember when there was did they build the stage at CPAC or something to look like the Nazi, whatever? It's a thing that happened. That didn't move any. MSNBC talked about it for 48 hours and it's gone.
Son and Rod. Yeah. The Son and Rod.
Look, in general, I agree with you.
Yeah, the Son.
I just think the Sea Kyle is slightly different, but agree to disagree. Can we talk about the Ross Ulbricht pardon?
Sure.
Or no? Do you guys have any interest in that?
I want to hear what you think about it.
Which one's that?
He is the guy who founded Silk Road.
Oh, the Silk Road.
Silk Road, for people who don't remember, is basically the dark web eBay. And so he founded the dark web eBay where you could go to buy drugs, or including fentanyl, by the way, which I believe is the worst thing in the world, according to people, and child pornography. And you can hire people to murder for you. You can do murder for hire there. And he got pinched for this and convicted to life without possibility of parole. And included in the sentencing, the reason for that, he wasn't charged with this because it wasn't part of the rap, but it was part of the sentencing taken into account by the judge, was that he attempted murder for hire in 5 cases. So he attempted to pay hitmen to kill people 5 times. Kind of a big
None
deal.
of them actually worked. They were all, it was like
None
a
of them
Keystone
worked.
Hitman
None of
situation.
them worked.
Yeah.
But he did attempt it, which is again part of the sentencing. Now, because libertarians are the worst people in the world, this guy became a cause celeb for libertarians. So I just want to take a brief aside. A few months ago, Missouri executed a gentleman by the name of Marcellus Williams. I don't know if you guys remember this. Mm-hmm. This was a case in which his conviction was so flawed that even the DA's office, which prosecuted him, eventually came out and said, we no longer have faith in our conviction. Please don't execute this guy. We think he's actually innocent. We don't think he did it. And libertarians didn't say fuck all about this, but they have been banging on about freeing Ross Ulbricht.
He's a good one. I like that kid. Good egg.
I bet Billy said something about it.
They have been banging on about Ross Ulbricht for years. Reason had a whole thing about the Reason Foundation, about how, got to get him out of prison. It's such a good guy. And this was evidently a thing that Joe Jorgensen was in favor. The guy who was the libertarian candidate, Chase
Oliver.
Chase Oliver had said that he, if he was elected, this asshole said he would pardon
Civil rights
Ross
issue of our
Ulbricht.
time.
And so Trump just did the thing that the libertarians wanted of him. I guess when he spoke at the Libertarian Convention, somebody got in his ear and said, we really care about this Ross Ulbricht guy. And Trump was like, well, vote for me and I'll pardon him. And so he did it.
That. Yeah.
He pardoned this guy. And again, sales of fentanyl, sales of child pornography, things which I have been told by MAGA QAnon loving people matter very deeply to them because they see these conspiracies everywhere in the world. Right, Wayfair. They won't even shop on Wayfair because of fentanyl and child porn. But their guy just went and pardoned this dude, and it's all cool.
Yeah. So here's
Everything's
what I
cool.
don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. Democrats, if you're listening, go find a camera. Go call. Hold a press conference. The cameras will come. And read what the people that Trump is pardoning did. Read the ones who planned, because he has unconditional pardons for the people who planned the insurrection, right? Who beat up cops, who tased Michael Fanone, who held him, who walked him through the crowd, had him, and said, I've got one, and let people tase him. Would you just do something? Would you say what he did? And I'm watching these guys. This is why I'm mad about the Elon thing. I'm watching these guys tweet about Elon and get in fights with media personalities on Twitter. That's not effective. That's not effective for clarifying and sort of focusing the mind. Okay? Start holding press conferences and say what Trump is doing. Do it with a bunch of you behind each other. Mount a freaking defense, offense. Do something. Don't just sit there. I cannot believe. See, now I'm all, I was trying to be cool at the front, but the thing that it is wild to watch people do nothing. Say it's disgraceful. Say you won't stand for it. Point out the hypocrisy of not backing the blue. Point out that cops can't trust this guy anymore because he will say, for my friend's mercy, for my enemies, the law. He will, if you are against him, he will make sure that the law, he will find a way to come after you. But if you are his friend, he will find a way to get you off. That's what he's shown.
I assume there are, Carrie Lake, who started yelling about me again, apparently, at the Gateway Pundit QAnon inauguration ball.
Oh my gosh. That was an amazing
really
piece by our buddy Joe Perticone. Can we just give a little shout out to Joe? That was the best thing he's ever written.
Yeah, it was great, Joe. Joe was like, I'm at the Bulwark, and she lost her mind. So anyway.
What did she call you? She referred to you. A bozo. She's like, oh, see, this guy works with the bozo. What an insane person.
Somebody was partying, getting loose. But when I was with her the last time, she started yelling at me about how I don't care about fentanyl mothers. Again, this is like a thing. Like Trump knows press conferences. Like this is something that comes to my mind when you said press conferences. It's like, and the Ross Ulbricht thing's been a while now, but I assume that some of the people who were victimized on what the fuck was the name of the thing again?
Silk Road. Silk Road.
Yeah, were victimized on Silk Road. That bought drugs there and OD'd, or were their child porn, whatever. I assume they have family members, that are probably unhappy that Ross Ulbricht is being set free. I think having a press conference with the fentanyl mothers that we're supposed to prioritize above everything, might be a worthwhile endeavor.
It's really something. Do you want to talk about some executive orders? We care about the executive orders.
Did.
Yeah, we got it all done.
Well, I want to hit a few of them at least. And here's why. Okay, let me just
rank them. Rank the executive orders.
I'll do a quick thing. Which is this. There is the January 6th thing was part of this too. Trump is putting an enormous amount of pressure on Republican. Like, he's right now jamming so much down their throats to see how much they can swallow. And the answer is probably a lot. But the flagrantly unconstitutional things, right, that he knows are, and like, this is where I'm sorry, I probably at some point I will stop talking about Joe Biden, but like the extent to which, because I do think this is part of the problem too, is Joe Biden left people as he walked out the door so demoralized and without the feeling of moral high ground that they felt like they couldn't talk about the pardons. Like, Donald Trump picked the perfect time to pardon everybody because Joe Biden, and look, morally, there is a difference between saying, I believe that Donald Trump is going to come after all of these people and therefore I'm preemptively pardoning them, and people who are like definitely did crimes against cops and Trump pardoning them. Like, there's a moral difference, but like there's not a whole lot of optical difference. Especially for low info people. It's just like, oh, there was like a mushroom cloud of pardons and a bunch of people walked away and the American people are like, oh, this all seems stupid. People are just more politicians pardoning their buddies, pardoning their families. And so I don't even know where I was going because I got railroaded by like the Joe Biden demoralizing people thing. Oh, on the executive orders. This is it, right? So like you want to be like, hey, it is the 14th Amendment. Super clear. Natural born, you're born on American soil, you're an American citizen. Like, there's no like wiggle room in that. But then you're like, I wish Joe Biden hadn't just invented the certification of a 28th Amendment because, we want to be like, hey, we care about the Constitution. The Constitution's really important. That's why you can't just randomly certify amendments on your way out the door.
Isn't that a thing nobody actually knows about and nobody will ever talk about like 10 hours from now or 10 minutes from now? Like, doesn't that fall into the Joe Biden ERA thing fall into the category of meaningless fish wrap? Like, if Elon Sieg Heil doesn't matter, then surely that doesn't matter either.
Okay, you know what? If it was definitely a Sieg Heil, then of course it matters. I think that the fight is over whether it was in fact that. And I'm saying that half the people who hate Elon are going to be like, it definitely was. And the people who like Elon are going to say it definitely wasn't. And so there's no way to say one way or the other. Right. And I think that when it comes to whether or not someone's a Nazi, like actually doing a Nazi salute.
Why did you do this, JVL? We don't. Why did you bring this
I'm
up?
sorry. No, I'm just saying
we already did this.
No, but I'm just saying, isn't the ERA thing here's what I'm saying. What percentage of America has heard about the ERA? Like 4%?
That's not why it matters, because it takes away the moral high ground of people who want to criticize Trump for not abiding by the Constitution.
Does it?
For not understanding the Constitution. I think if you want to be consistent, it does.
No, I don't mean.
Matters.
No, I'm sorry. I don't. I just mean practically. I don't mean morally. Does it take away the heart? I mean, like, as a practical matter of litigating birthright citizenship. Like, that's the thing that everybody will hear about when it hits the Supreme Court, and the ERA is something nobody will have heard about, and so practically, like, nobody's going to hear that argument.
No, the practical effect is because of the asymmetry that you always outline. Democrats care more about being consistent, which is why you see a lot more Democrats criticizing Joe Biden. And whereas Republicans will be like, ban TikTok. Oh, no, we're on board with TikTok. Yay, bring TikTok back. Thank you, God. Okay, so like the asymmetry is there, but I think it has the practical effect of muting the criticism that people feel confident leveling at Trump right now because Biden did so many things, like directly did things that make it very difficult now. I mean, we should criticize Trump objectively, and I feel comfortable doing it because I'll criticize both of them. But I do think it muted. I think it took a bite out of Democrats' sense of moral high ground here. This show is also sponsored by HelloFresh. Tired of figuring out what's for dinner night after night, especially on those busy weekdays? I know I am. Get dinner done the easy way, thanks to HelloFresh. It's easy to find time to eat well with 50 wholesome, hassle-free meals to choose from each week delivered to your door. HelloFresh's new ready-made meals to go from the fridge to your fork in just 3 minutes. It's the same high-quality ingredients and restaurant-worthy flavor you expect from HelloFresh, just with none of the work, which is the best part. Their lineup of prep and bake meals come together with minimal mess and only 5 minutes of prep, so your oven does most of the work, not you. Save valuable time with fewer trips to the grocery store thanks to HelloFresh Market. There's over 100 add-on items you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfast, packable snacks, beverages, and more. I don't know about you guys, but I've got kids and I've got 800 podcasts to do with JVL and Tim. And so coming home and trying to figure out dinner is like impossible. And having these things just ready to go and know that it's not, it's not fast food. It's good, healthy food that's super easy to make. And you can get your whole family fed. It's the best.
And Sarah, another one of our sponsors, Green Chef, is now owned by HelloFresh. And with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/thenextlevel10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/thenextlevel10FM.
I think that the executive order Bukkake is going to give people a lot of fodder for criticism for a while, and it is just going to take a little bit of time to get through it all, one by one.
I'm just happy Mona's not here. Just happy Mona's not here.
No,
what?
Nothing.
What did Mona say?
No, Mona would say, "I'm sorry, what is that, Tim?" And then Tim would have to explain that phrase to Mona. And I'm just happy that we don't live in that world right now. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's Japanese. It's kind of a Japanese constitutional. It's kind of a Japanese. Don't Google it. It's kind of a,
don't Google it, Sarah.
An obscure
don't
Japanese
Google it.
Constitutional matter.
That is not what it is.
And I do think
don't
that
Google
kind of the way that Donald
I just
Trump,
assumed it was like a synonym for like baloney or...
Yeah. The way that Donald Trump desecrated the Constitution.
No, the problem is that it's a perfect... The problem is that it's a perfect metaphor.
Yeah, he desecrated the Constitution in a way that is akin to how, some of the Japanese have that practice that.
Timmy, you made this bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just trying to get a laugh out of you, really.
You did.
I couldn't do any more. I just, I'm beaten down. I'm beaten down by all this, but I'm not so beaten down that I'm like Amy Klobuchar having a nice little ice cream social with Donald and Melania, talking about how funny they were.
All right, so what about?
I am too beaten down to go around and around.
So there's going to be a lot of litigation around the executive orders, right? We'll have litigation on the natural born citizenship. And we'll have our birthright citizenship. We'll have litigation on all the Schedule F stuff, which is I feel like a very big deal. Like he went and did Schedule F, which everybody said hey, this thing is really dangerous. And now he's gone and done it. I think everybody just sort of blinked and, oh, okay, he did it. Kind of a big deal. If you saw, they're going basically on a Night of the Long Knives for anything that sounds like diversity within the federal government. Every office of diversity and whatnot. And they're trying to get all of those things everywhere in the government shut down. And on the one hand, a bunch of diversity is diversity theater and is silly, right? We're going to have minority group X week, and the director of this agency will give a speech that nobody in the agency will listen to, talking about how great and the amazing contributions of minority group X. I get that. On the other hand, it is sort of a big deal for the FBI to have an office which goes out to historically black colleges and tries to recruit, bright young African Americans who might not otherwise think about going into law enforcement to joining the FBI. That's kind of important. Yeah. That's a meaningful thing. And if every place in the federal government is just going to stop doing that, I don't know, that seems bad. No? Sarah, you've got your arms crossed.
Honestly, the thing that I'm thinking about when you bring this up is the fact that I think this is going to be popular, and I don't think anybody's going to push back on it. I think there's just an overarching sense that so much of this stuff has overreached. And I don't think that I certainly have not heard, even among Democrats and even among black voters or Hispanic voters, female, people pretty routinely sort of say this stuff's gone too far. I don't like it. And I don't think that I think of all the things that Trump is going to do that are popular. I think this and deporting people who've committed crimes are going to be very popular with people.
Yeah, that may be entirely true. Still is going to be a problem, though, won't it? In the long time, maybe it's a problem that he doesn't deal with and nobody cares about.
I think that the recruitment effort that you talked about, JVL, is important. I don't know. Bill was talking about this on Monday and gave a very, I think you could reframe this in a way that makes people much more sympathetic. And, I think one way that Bill was talking about this on Monday, I'm just paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but was that it is pretty appalling that what we're going to have over the next 100 days, year, 2 years, is the richest people in the world cozying up to Donald Trump and getting special access and getting special favors, while people that have middle to upper middle class jobs, have families, work hard, serve the country, have expertise on something, are going to get shit canned. So that Donald Trump's buddies, like Elon Musk, can get more, get preferential treatment on government contracting. That's the germ of a way to talk about it, but I do think that there is a way to think about, and speak about people that are losing their jobs, that isn't getting into a fight over, whether we needed Navajo Appreciation Week at the Department of Commerce, right? I think that there's a way to talk about the value that hardworking people bring, that Donald Trump doesn't care about, that kind of levels up to the broader, sort of attack on the cronyism and the oligarchs. I don't know, maybe not, maybe. But I thought that Bill was pretty eloquent on that point.
Mass discharge of trans service members. Is a thing that anybody will care about? No? 15,000 people serving their country honorably right now going to be discharged from the armed services at a time when there's a recruitment shortage?
I'm going back to my resolution. Who cares?
You don't care
about it? I mean, who cares if people care about it?
Okay.
I think it's still worth to be it's still worth being outraged. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. We can still be outraged about things. Not everything that is said on every. This is my point. A press release that a senator says, this individual press release, is meaningless. It doesn't actually matter whether the American people care about your condemnation, whether 20% of the American people care or 80% of the people. It's not going to make the difference on whether you win re-election or whether J.D. Vance is president in 2029. And so opposing things for the sake of opposing bad things for the sake of opposing them is good enough. I think that's true in the trans situation. But also I think doing things that mock them and raise salience of it is also good. I saw a tweet that made me kind of smirk about Caitlyn Jenner Sarah already knows what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Caitlyn Jenner congratulated Donald Trump, and somebody quote tweeted it, and it has like 100,000 retweets right now, which is he just signed an executive order mandating that you be called Bruce. It's like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. You know, make people face this stuff one item at a time, I think is probably worthwhile.
Sarah, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what I like about that tweet is it gets at like a very central communications theory that I think I would like people to use as their North Star, which is that people vote on things that have personal consequences to them. And now you can make an argument, certainly, that democracy has personal consequences for people, whether we have one or not. I certainly believe that to be true. But because it's like the air we breathe or the water that we swim in, people can't like see, touch, and feel it. And so I do think it's not just that Democrats have to focus on kitchen table issues. It's that they have to focus on things that people feel like touch their lives. There's a reason that the TikTok ban and the $9 were the things that were on top of people's minds, because they had personal consequences for those people. And I think holding on to that and not getting lost in the ephemera of more elite debates is... I just think that is how you have to do communications now. And I think that that's where, to Tim's point, talking to people about he is doing nothing for you, but he is releasing criminals. He says he cares about fentanyl, but he is pardoning people and letting them out of jail, people who made this possible. Like, I just think that is where you focus your energy. You cannot do it all. Like, part of the big issue now is that we live in an attention economy, which means that it's finite. Right. And there are places to concentrate. And I hear Tim about like, I'm going to be outraged about what I'm outraged about. But I am trying to figure out how you get people not to care about the things that I care about, like democracy, but how do you have the net outcome be beneficial for democracy?
All right. It's been a good show, a long show. Just real quick, is the war in Ukraine over? Or is it still going on? I haven't.
No, but this is a good communications opportunity too. We should
every day there should be every day there should be a press conference. Yeah. Is the war in Ukraine over? Ukraine.
It's like infrastructure week, right? Remember, infrastructure week never came until Joe Biden was president. He did do infrastructure week, and great, Donald Trump gets to do all the ribbon cuttings.
I have a bad thought about this. I had a bad thought that crossed my mind about the Ukraine Putin. I don't know if you saw this in one of Donald Trump's many, to the broader point about the communications and more is more and flooding the zone. Donald Trump talks all the time and bleats all the time. And so it's hard to even keep track of everything that he says, even if you're a professional Donald Trump monitor with Trump derangement syndrome. But he said something the other day in one of these functions where it was like, yeah, you know, Putin, I don't know. Putin's making some mistakes here. It sounds like he doesn't want to deal. Like he's like, there's some like throwaway line about how Putin doesn't want to deal and he's disappointed. And I'm like, is it wrong for me that I'm like, call his bluff, lad? Call his fucking bluff. All right. Cause like he does benefit from like this, like, oh, you don't know what Donald's going to do. He's so erratic. He's so crazy that like and it's kind of like, is he actually? I don't know. He's kind of a soft-handed vulgarian, I think. And so it'll be, I guess, it'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess, is my thought on the not yet over Ukraine war.
All right. Well, guys, that was a heck of a show. Thanks to everybody.
Every Wednesday we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. Every Wednesday.
I think we should do 2 of these a week.
Oh, yeah. 4. I mean, I'm only doing 8 podcasts a week about this. Why not more?
I mean, maybe we ought to do them Joe Rogan style, where it's a 3-hour thing, and we're all just living our lives on. Maybe it ought to be like The Real World, where instead of sitting down for a podcast, we just have cameras on us full time, and we talk.
Or maybe after I'm drinking
about everything.
Now that I've started drinking on weekdays
I think people would watch this show.
I do too. Something to think about.
I mean, people will watch anything. Guys, hit subscribe, hit like, talk to us in the comments. We got to get out of here. Tim and I are going to meet up for a nosh. Sarah, you're going to not Google that word Tim used, and we'll do it
It's
again
a
next
very
week.
serious word that by
Yes.
Japanese constitutional scholars. It's it goes deep into Japanese hentai history.
I don't even remember the word.
Great.
If you had not just
Good.
brought that up, I would have long since left my mind.
Good luck, America.
Bukkake.